lecture circuit and you're doing all kinds of other things. So you're going to make that money up just by your association with that teaching hospital. But I wanted to say that Sam already left, but Sam and I have been talking about doing a genetics lecture series and scientific discourse with, where they have John do physics and other people do other chemistry lessons or whatever. So look for that. Me and Sam are going to do genetics.
Great. Thank you, Chinga. Anyone else?
I think that Austin's question and comment was actually pretty interesting with the psychosomatic aspect of what we were talking about. I think that the mental health crisis is not talked about enough. There's not enough help, and that might be the reason why. So anybody who's able to, I guess this is also with the social isolation and loneliness epidemic probably impacting people quite a bit. And so being social is actually very important. Not only just for oneself, but for others in the community. And just actually being empathetic and compassionate towards others, and making sure to take time and energy out of one's life to be there and step it up for other people. Because it seems like, listening to the conversation, there isn't enough help for people out there. So teaching people to help themselves and help others is probably more important today than it has been for a while.
Thank you, Jude. Anyone else? Any final comments before we set the room down?
I'm so grateful that your procedure went well yesterday and that you're feeling better and that you got access to the healthcare that you needed. And I'm just grateful. It's not anything to ever take for granted. You're lucky if you get to be well. So I'm just glad that went really, really well for you, and hopefully you're going to be clear and ready for your exam, and it's going to be a smashing success.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other final comments?
I'm glad you're taking care of your health, Dr. James. And maybe in the spirit of what Chinga and Malincrot, some of the educators, Rick, we should take this offline to talk about Econ 101. Where does money come from? Because the banks don't borrow it from the government. We have a fractional reserve banking. They borrow it from us. And that's what is the tragedy of 2008. We never learned really how banking works, and how basically for every dollar every dollar deposited at a bank, as a business, they then get to, because they have a charter from the government, issue 10 times that amount in loans. So money's actually created by banks, by us using them. And that's why when a long time ago Elizabeth Warren talked about postal banking, it might have been the fulfillment of what you were talking about. So access to is a great word, Denise. If only people had access to money like banks have access to it. That's my final word. We should probably break it off into a different, more educational kind of room.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? And I'll shut the room down. We have a couple people who didn't say anything. I'm happy to end.
Well, if you ever want to have a room about meditation, we can talk about
everybody.
Thanks, dude. Thanks, everyone. Okay, I'm shutting the room down now. And a final mana. Do. Goodbye.
Sit down.
Exactly.
Sit down. And I got more than 30,000 in my account, little ass nigga. Mind your business.
Let's see you.
You so bothered.
Let's see
Like,
you.
let it go.
Let's see you.
Sort of doing way too many YouTube videos, the little TikTok videos, and I do want to talk about that a little bit because it's I probably shouldn't be looking at it because it triggers me. all these TikTok videos of the ICE. I call them the stormtroopers, but the ICE secret police with the masks on. Grabbing people and throwing them in the street, but with like the neighbors and following them or yelling at them and all the resistance around it, which makes you feel really good. And in some cases, in some cities, they actually do have people volunteering to follow them and honk horns while they're doing well. It's to sort of alert people. And it's part of me is, wow, this is great. People are really naturally coming into a natural resistance against these people. But then the other part of me looks at it, some of it, not all of it, some of it is a little violent. Like some of this stuff, they're throwing rocks and stuff, which is just going to get them into trouble. But I don't know. Part of it makes me feel positive that people are automatically rejecting it, which is the way it should be. But then the other part of I am a little concerned that some people are overdoing it. Anyway, curious to hear what everybody's thinking about this morning, and of course we want to get the updates from Peruzin, and also Barbara. Apparently, it's Canada Day today, because we have a Canadian event over at the Lancaster Hotel. So is today like the Canadian 4th of July? Is that what this is?
Yeah, no, it's Canada Day. It's a long weekend, so not today. But you're celebrating it today, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, they're having a big get-together tonight, so they're going to be giving out a lot of maple leaves. And the last time they gave little bottles of maple syrup.
Maple syrup, yep, that's the thing to do. Maple syrup, yep.
It's so great. It's so great. And you know what? The last
Faso?
Yeah. Well, it's this is what they do. It's like we go to the Japanese embassy. They always invite us over once a year for a big private sushi and sake dinner. And the Canadians, bring maple syrup. And before the last ambassador left, she gave us as a present Canadian. It's maple syrup liqueur, which is awesome. I'd never seen it before, but it's really good.
Does your food travel? Just asking. If you're into climate issues, if your maple syrup travels from Canada to Burkina Faso, is that really necessary?
Yeah, you would think with the people starving up north, 2 million people. No, there's a lot of like regular stuff that goes on here. I mean, truthfully, other than the fact that they're like these little checkpoints with with guards with camo and rifles. Other than that, everything seems to be going fairly normal. And I mean, there are, despite the fact that this is so undeveloped, they have, we've got some private nightclubs here where you can go out at night and the hoity-toity, upper 1% of the Burkinabe go hang out and they party. So it's not like, there are some actually really nice French restaurants here, which is really weird. And they just ship the food in.
Why would that be weird? It's Francophile, so
yeah.
It would be weird if they had. It would be weird if they had Thai restaurants. It would be weird if they had Malaysian food.
Yeah.
But French, come on, they were the colonizers.
No, you're absolutely right about. But the reason why I'm saying it's unusual in that some of the countries that are least developed, that are under a lot of, like in Sudan or Somalia or Congo, the major cities really don't have, it's not regular, because, even our embassies in those cities are really secured and shut down. And for instance, the Bamako, which is the capital of Mali. I mean, it's actually not as nice as Ouagadougou. It's really sort of a military town.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
Does
so
Mali have
what
the
happens
resources? I mean, you got to think about how long these foreign entities have been coming to the country and extracting, and what have they been extracting? So like that whole wealth reservoir accumulates, and then you have rich people, even in El Salvador, where there's gangs. I went out to nightclubs surrounded by people providing private security, shotguns, and that's the proliferation of wealth, I think, is what you're really describing.
Yeah, no, I am. The thing is that there is a historical structure of upper class here in Burkina that hasn't been as affected, by the colonial and post-colonial time. I mean, it's not that many. I mean, we're talking about a few thousand people out of a population of 22 million.
That's why it's called the upper crust, Ben.
But they're here, and they have a society, and a lot of them are in government, and that's the way it is in all the countries. But some of the other countries, it's not quite as normalized as it is here. I mean, there's a lot of commerce that goes on. There's a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, but it's at a very, basic level. So, I mean, you got to remember something. Only 40% of the streets in the biggest city are paved. 60% are unpaved. I think the last thing I heard was the literacy rate here is 57%. So this is truly a very undeveloped country. Most people live in their traditional villages. Most people live on subsistence farming. So it's a real dichotomy here. So anyway, Marshall's in the room. Hey, Marshall, how are you doing? Do you have any interesting historical things you want to bring up and share with them?
Let's see. Today, in 2015, Obergefell v. Hodges decided. Can you hear?
Uh-oh. I'm not hearing you. Could be.
No, I'm not. I'm not
Now
hearing
it's
you.
Marshall.
Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah.
Much better.
Yes.
I would love to hear from Perusian after that.
Yeah.
It was my Bluetooth. Today in 2015, Obergefell v. Hodges was decided that allowed same-sex unions. In 2013, United States v. Windsor, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a provision in the Defense of Marriage Act that defined marriage for federal purposes. Let's see.
That was a big deal.
Today in 1997, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, also called the Sorcerer's Stone, was first published.
Are you looking that up in your almanac, Marshall?
No, the
Chat
Encyclopedia.
GPT.
No, Encyclopedia Britannica. It's got the fake history.
I love it.
And I love to look at it. Today, in 1963, during the U.S. Cold War, President John F. Kennedy delivered his famous "Ich bin ein Berliner" speech. Let's see, anything else?
So American.
Today, in 1483, Richard Plantagenet, Duke of Gloucester, began his reign as Richard III after usurping power from his nephew, Edward V.
There you go.
And today, in 1819, finally, the U.S. Army officer Abner Doubleday, once thought to be the inventor of baseball in 1907, finding later discredited by evidence connection he was born today. So interesting. Ooh, also American motion picture actor Peter Lorre from such films as Casablanca and The Maltese Falcon first achieved international fame as the psychotic child murderer in the German classic film. And was born in Rosenberg, I can't say it correctly. Rosen something or other hungry. I can't pronounce the last part of it. But there are some random historical facts for you.
Love it. You know what? That is so wonderful, Marshall. You know what? We should do this. Whenever you come in, you just take a look at the day of the week and day of the year and find these historical facts. That's great. I love that. Thank you. All right. Yeah, let's go to Perusian. You know, there's been just a lot of chatter about what's going on in Iran and between Iran, Israel, the United States. A lot of really stupid argument about how much, you know, it's sort of like big dick swinging about how much damage the United States attack did, which is, you know, it really is quite irrelevant. The fact of the matter is Trump could have said, hey, look, we've been threatening to bomb your nuclear your nuclear facilities. All presidents have been threatening this for years. And we finally did it. We caused damage. And if you don't do it again, we'll come back again. That's all he had to say. That's all he had to say. And that would have been fine as long as he doesn't do anything more. But no, he has to make a big deal because he's a big baby to say, oh no, we got rid of everything. It's all done. He just can't help from lying. But anyway.
Let's talk about the Iranians because
exactly. I want to find out, what Perusian has been thinking, how the Iranians have been, what their attitudes have been in terms of supporting the current government or whether they see this as an opportunity.
Nope. Can I just tell you that yesterday I heard Zateo on the Substack had two Iranian experts on. One runs something called the Iran Podcast, and then there's another one that's an NGO person. They basically said that this invasion and this bombing had forced the people back behind the regime. And that whereas people used to complain about, the regime and want their freedom, they are now backing it because they have patriotism. They love their country. They have a sense of their country being being a country for 2,200 years, I think they said, not like any of the other Middle Eastern countries or Arab states. And they feel that their country has much more to offer, and that when the United States comes in and thinks that it needs help, all they do is scare the shit out of the people and throw them behind the regime.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Just a real quick housekeeping thing. We still have that asshole, John Kitover, doing the recording. So I just want, we want to ignore him, but I also feel it's fair that everybody needs to be aware that he's recording in the room. He has the two anonymous things in the audience. I'm gonna find his profile and YouTube profile. So everybody, if you see it and it bothers you, we have a campaign to get him kicked out of Clubhouse and also to get him kicked out of YouTube. So, we'll continue to do that. We're finding more and more. I've been getting a lot of back information about him personally, where he lives, his phone number. We have a lot of information about him. We're contacting the Illinois Republican Party, and also I've been in contact with some of the people he's running against to get out this information. We got to stop this. He's a real pain in the ass. Anyway, I don't want to give him any more time. But if anybody does have more personal information about him, let's get it out there and start spreading it. We're going to get this guy doxed and out of here. All right. Enough.
You heard it.
Where were we? We were going to... Oh, yeah, prison. It's your turn.
My dear
Hello, my dear Ben, dear Dr. Francine, dear Barbara, David, Marshall, Rick, all the listeners. Nice to be again with you. And I want to start, if you like, because I think that you're interested to hear that. Maybe 2 or 3 days after the ceasefire between Iran and Israel, we are, of course, as you have heard, listening or hearing different narratives. One narrative says that these attacks weren't effective enough, that
You like that, Doc? You hear that, Doc?
This leads to a
Team
delay
John,
of this
baby.
atomic nuclear
Team John,
program
who?
of Iran. And we have the narrative of the
It's the only way I know how to do it, Doc.
States and his defense minister, who believes that this nuclear program is eliminated, so whatsoever. I think with the second, exception, the Iranian government is more happy. But honestly, to be honest with you, I think the first acceptation is the right, or the first narrative is the more near to or closer to the truth, because I think that they have still the knowledge and they have still the capacity to surprise us. But not wanting to speculate, I want to say something else. From the beginning, also in other years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, all the experts were or a lot of experts were saying that an attack on this vast and diversified nuclear program is risky, because once you hit them, you have to hit them really good, or you should think about attacking them each couple of months again and again and again and again. Something I don't think that it's in interest of United States or in interest of Israel even, and it deepens the enemyship. That was why I was in favor of a kind of dialogue and finding out finding to a peace, or some kind of stop of the Iranian nuclear program by diplomacy. I also know that this was also risky, because the government is also, the Iranian government, you cannot also believe the words, all words that they are speaking. One government wants this, the next one wants something else. So I know that this wasn't a simple decision for Israel to do, but now I have an eye on the Iranian people. I see that when attack on Iran has happened, people who were originally, most of them, I think the absolute majority of them, wanted to experience change and going the path through democracy, and opening the society to the Western country, to the Western culture. So all the things that we are talking about during the last couple of years. But now we have a situation, a government, a dictatorship is hurt. It's like a bear